reporting. Rage and betrayal continues.
In December of 1990, Tim McVeigh and the Big Red One were deployed to the Persian Gulf.
Hey, to your right! Forward! Ha!
This was the largest mobilization of American forces since the war in Vietnam. 500,000 American soldiers, and with them went thousands of tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles. Tim McVeigh was a Bradley gunner. The ground war wouldn't start for 2 months, and John Kelso, who was in the same unit, remembers the waiting.
We got in country and it was just days and days of sitting around doing nothing. Once we got out there, I don't know, it was just like pulling guard duty at Fort Riley.
Not for Tim McVeigh.
Shift! Shift right!
He kept on training. His outstanding performance at Fort Riley had earned him a chance to try out for the Army's elite unit of soldiers known as the Special Forces. While they waited for the ground war to begin, he trained as hard as he could. He knew that as soon as the war was over, the Army could order him to pass one of its toughest physical and mental endurance tests. As the U.S.-led alliance began its air campaign against the Iraqis, McVeigh wrote home to the McDermotts in Lockport, New York. He had just been made sergeant. Tim's friend, Liz McDermott, saved his letter.
Dear Liz, Jack, Paul, Molly. Right now, we're in barracks very similar to those made famous in Beirut. This is definitely the real stuff now. We had an alert yesterday. Everyone had to get into their chemical protective gear and wait. My new address is Sergeant T. McVeigh. I'll write more later and send you some sand. Take care, Tim.
A month after that letter, when the ground war began, the young soldier who was so fascinated by guns finally went into combat. He was well prepared.
Tim was the first one in our unit to get a kill.
Kill an Iraqi.
Right. And he took out a machine gun nest. It had a bunker and had it fortified really well. And he took it out at, it was a good distance. I mean, it was pretty far away. Probably 10 football fields.
McVeigh's skill earned him the Bronze Star. It was one of the few encounters his unit had with the Iraqis. 4 days after it began, the ground war was over. McVeigh's unit was rewarded with the prestigious assignment of guarding General Schwarzkopf at the ceasefire negotiations with the Iraqis. Did he talk to you more about his experiences in the Gulf War?
Not a whole lot. He told me that he shook hands with General Schwarzkopf. He told me that part of it, you know, that his unit was invited to protect them when they had the peace talks or whatever they had there. But not a whole lot more than that.
Tim wrote his godmother saying, "Did you see me on the news? They filmed me shaking hands with General Schwarzkopf." The handshake with the general never made the news, but by chance a cameraman did capture the moment as Sergeant McVeigh, his own camera in hand, waited to meet his general. By all accounts, it was the high point of his life. March the 3rd, 1991. A few days later, the Army told McVeigh he could return to the States and try out for Special Forces. And when he was told he was going to come back and have a shot at Special Forces, was he excited?
No, he was upset. Because when they told him how fast he was going to go. And it was like a boom, boom back here right at Special Forces. And, well, he told me right before he left. He said, "There's no way." He said, "I'm not ready."
Ready or not, he was going. The Special Forces was McVeigh's ticket out of Fort Riley, away from the drinkers and the deadbeats. A chance to spend every day with the Army's best soldiers. But without the chance to train, his worst fears came true. He wasn't prepared. The test was too tough. And after only 2 days, he quit. "Not physically ready," he wrote. "The 4-mile march should not have hurt as much as it did." McVeigh returned to Fort Riley. Back with his own unit, he moved into a small house off base with his friend John Kelso. Kelso remembers that McVeigh made excuses.
What I can remember him telling me is a problem with the paperwork. He wasn't supposed to be there. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. It's something about being a soldier that it's hard to tell somebody that you failed. It just shattered his attitude about the military. It had fallen apart.
And as it fell apart from McVeigh, the Pentagon implemented the Army's biggest downsizing since Vietnam. He took the Army's offer of voluntary discharge.
I think now, when they started doing the cutbacks in the Army, I think he felt a little bit betrayed. That kind of surprised him. It surprised a lot of us, you know, especially the guys that want to do it as a career. That all of a sudden, you know, it's like, we don't need you anymore.
Only months before, McVeigh had been a hero. The Army had given him a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging. And now the Army didn't want him anymore. 23 years old, McVeigh packed his belongings and went home to upstate New York.
Well, cripes, when he came home from the service, and he walked right in the bedroom I was sleeping. "Hi, Dad, I'm home." He surprised the hell out of me. I thought he was still over in the war.
Did he ever tell you what it meant to him not to make it into Special Forces?
No. We never talked about that, and I ain't even sure I ever asked him.
Back home, McVeigh found a job working for the Burns Security Company. It paid little more than the minimum wage. He was soon back in the same